on the words. You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You're not hopeless, though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I'll send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. This is a very open conversation on World Suicide Day. We want to keep it very honest as well. It is a hard number to swallow though, but around 81% of suicidal people tell someone what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. It is time to get honest about suicide prevention. If many who attempt suicide give some clue or warning, then we need to look out for the signs. That's why we're having this conversation on this very important day. Let me introduce to you my guest who will be joining us on Zoom. Dr. Eugene Dordoye is head Department of Psychological Medicine and Mental Health, School of Medicine, University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho. Doc, I see you. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you. In the studio is Corinne De Silveira. She's a suicide survival and suicide prevention advocate. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your presence. It means everything to me. Also joining in the conversation is Dr. Joanna Larry-Afutu. She's a clinical psychologist. Good morning to you, Doc. I see you too.
Good morning.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
I want us to begin. Okay, so let me begin with you, doctors. Do we have statistics? How does it look like in our country? How does it look like in your place of work, for instance?
Okay, so I would like to go. So some suicidologists in Ghana have recently conducted some research in suicide, and I am privileged.
All right, unfortunately, because we're using technology, it's freezing, but she was just about sharing something really important with us. We're going to get her back. Dr. Dordoye, is there something that you want to share in terms of what the statistics are, perhaps? Dr. Eugene Dordoye, if you can hear me, I'm asking if there are statistics to share. What are the trends?
The statistics are varying, and it's, as an academician, I really should give reliable data. The challenge we have with suicide in Ghana largely is because the attempt of suicide is criminal. So as a doctor, if you see a patient who is suicidal, you are by law obligated to report to the police. So you are always in a dilemma whether to help your patient or whether to go to the police about the patient who is telling you about a crime, supposedly. So the world over has it that there are, the most likely person to die by suicide is an elderly male, white male over 70 years. But we know that 2 out of every 3 suicides occur in 3 countries: China, Japan, India. Not just because of their sheer numbers, but there are other reasons why they, also have a cultural and other underpinnings why they commit the most. They die by suicide most. We are trying to run away from the word commit because people actually don't commit suicide. People die by suicide. If you commit, it's like it's a crime or it is a sin, something like that. But suicidal behavior is obviously a symptom of an illness. So to use the word commit is even, very bad to use the word commit. And it's very sad that on the World Suicide Prevention Day, like today, Ghana as a country has codified attempted suicide as a crime when our colonizers, in fact, decriminalized it in 1961. and we codified it in 1960. So it's quite sad. When it comes to the age brackets, apart from the elderly male, we know that especially for studies in North America, in the US, for the children or young people between ages 15 and 24, suicide is the third most common cause of death for them. Unfortunately, they die either by a road accident, somebody killing them, or they killing themselves. So suicide is the number 3 cause of death among our young people, which is a very worrying trend, because these are the brain and brawn potential of our countries, of any country. So it's very sad when we have the young people also dying by suicide. And that has been our challenge. I mean, both the suicidologists, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, this is where our problem has been, that younger people are dying by suicide. And in Ghana, so let's come home. Our statistics have usually been from what the media reports, but technically that cannot be used as a basis, even though those numbers are worrying. The fact that the media reports somebody is hanging cannot be conclusive that the person died by suicide.
Correct.
Because if somebody kills and hangs somebody, it will be considered as suicide. So technically, to use media reports, which we have been using in Ghana as a data, is not the best form of data that we collect. But the challenges are that we don't have any means, any system to collect data on suicidal behavior in Ghana, unfortunately. And we've had some of the audacious suicidal behaviors, like a young lady in the university threw herself on a multi-floor, about I think 4th or 5th floor down. Usually women who die by suicide use the peaceful means of death. Probably the most violent is drowning, but they will use drug overdose or something. But for a woman to throw herself down a multi-story building, knowing that there's no chance of survival, that is quite a violent means of death that young women don't use elsewhere. So if our young women are even going by that, that is the worst case scenario. And it's very sad that this has happened. Unfortunately, this happened to, not to really remind the family, but a lawmaker's daughter, okay? And it is our lawmakers who have to repeal this law of criminal behavior, of suicidal attempt being a criminal behavior. So we have a very long way to go. If we don't do anything about the law, it'll be difficult to monitor suicidal behavior. If we don't monitor suicidal behavior, it's difficult to get good statistics. And if you don't get good statistics, then it is almost impossible to put in any intervention that will help people like Karen. So Karen more or less went through the cracks. So she was suicidal and she was not sent to prison. Others have been jailed because they were suicidal, and they are now considered ex-convicts. That is how bad it is. So basically, you are being thrown into jail or criminalized because of a symptom of your illness. So like saying you have a high blood pressure, so go to jail for it. Or saying you are overweight, so go to jail for it. That is how bad we are telling the people who have symptoms of an illness.
Sure.
And it's I don't know, it's just unthinkable.
Yeah.
Insensitive for us as a nation to people with suicidal behavior.
We will hear Karen's story, but we've got a stable connection now to Dr. Joanna Larry-Futu. Doc,
thank you.
Let's hear you now.
Okay, so as I was saying, some suicidologists have attempted getting into people's space to find out how many people have attempted or have even thought about committing suicide ever. And in the rural communities, they found that 1 in 10 adults have ever thought about taking their own lives due to life's challenges, several life's challenges. Again, in the junior high schools, we've found out that about 3 in 10 people or students have ever reported of taking their lives. When we go to the senior high schools, we have about 2 out of 10 people reporting similar attempts or similar thoughts. Then there is also a very peculiar group, the LGBT adolescents who are torn between either being a male, going gay, or homosexual. That community also, about 2 in every 5 of them have ever thought of poisoning themselves or injuring themselves towards suicidal behavior. And so this is basically what we have. Then when you go to the school for the deaf, we have 1 in 10 out of that also reporting that they have ever thought of taking their own lives. So basically, that is what we have now. Research is still ongoing for future reports.
Okay. I want us to just listen to Karen's story. I'll come back to you, Dr. Joanna Larry Futu and Dr. Eugene Dordoye. Karen, thank you for being brave about this, really, and sharing your story.
Thank you.
And being an advocate, which is really important.
Sure.
What you share, I can share.
Right.
So it makes all the difference. The doctors can't even share what you can share.
Right.
So how long ago did this happen to you?
This was, it started in 2009. That was somewhere in, after I had completed senior secondary school.
Okay.
So that process was a thought because I wasn't comfortable in my skin. Then it went on to me being sexually abused by someone I trusted as a friend who I knew and who dragged me. And I saw the person coming onto me, but I was too weak to fight it off. Now, after that experience, when I got home, I was like in the shower for almost 2 hours. Nobody could find, nobody knew. My brother was around, my mom was around, my dad was around, but they didn't know what was happening. So I was like, I'm gonna end it. I'm done. There's nothing. And funny enough, the next day I have work. And the next day I went to work like nothing happened. And when I got to work, I broke down. I couldn't do anything. So I had to go to my HR and go see, boss, this is what has happened. I can't do this right now. I can't concentrate. I need time off and I can't be here. So all through, he said, okay, he understood and I left. But I don't think they understand because at the end of the day, they needed me at work at a particular period in time. Say you said this and they'll give you 3 days, go and think about it.
But did you tell him exactly what he had gone through?
Yeah, I actually said it.
Why were you comfortable telling him, but you didn't tell family?
No, the thing was, at that point, when it happened, and I'm like, I'm the type who is not, who can bounce back from anything.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, okay, now I can bounce back and later go through the process of the pain and go through whatever went through.
So are you the independent kind?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Because I can relate.
I am. So I thought I could just bounce back and be okay. So then I got to work. So in the car going to work, I felt like it was coming. The darkness was just clouded. So in the car, something said, jump out of the car. You get it? The voice said, jump out. This is the end. Just finish up with it. But then I was able to get to work. When I got to work, before I even got down from the car, I'm like, Karen, you can do this. Let's go. So I got to work and I was there and I'm like, no, I can't. So luckily the HR I spoke to was a female. So, and I had known her for years because I've been working there for a period of time. So I called her and I told her, I can't do this. And she kept asking me, what is wrong? And it took time for me to even break what had happened to her because she didn't get it. So I finally confided in her. I said, this was what had happened. I need to leave ASAP. And on my way home, it was still like that. I'm like, okay. So at a point, I got down at the car at the beach area.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so this is it. What are we going to do? Do you jump? Do you do this? Then another silent voice came in. Karen, no. Don't, please. At least just go home and say something to somebody. I go home, normal, like, I keep to myself. I'm a kind of a reserved type. So when I go home, everybody thought everything was normal. But they didn't know that was the day I was about to. Nobody knew. I saw my brother, I saw my mom, I saw my dad. And funny enough, I was giving, I give a hint like, I am not fine, I'm not okay. And when you say that, my brother knows me to be somebody who speaks to people, who encourages people, motivates people. So sometimes when I talk to him, he says, you're a motivator, that kind of a thing. So he can't identify with what I'm going through because he thinks I'm stronger than it. So even when I tell him, today I'm not fine, he said, I'm a motivator like you, but that is more what I need at that period. So I went to my room, I wrote a letter down. And
do you remember what you said?
Yeah. That letter I'm talking about today, a friend of mine he kept that note. And he sent it to me like 4 years after because he saved me. Wow. He came, I think everybody had gone to work by then. He came, and when he came, he was like, Karen, what's wrong? And he's the type, we don't talk often, but he can sense when I'm not okay. He called 1, 2, 3, he didn't get through to me, he just came. So when he came, the letter was there, the knife was there, the concoction was there. And when he came, he just grabbed me. He said, Karen, no. So at that point, he was even confused. He didn't even know what to do. I remember he called his sister, and this person I'm talking about is Bamidele Stevens, Abeku Stevens. Wherever you are, I say thank you, because you are part of the reasons of my life today. He was like, you're not going to do it.
So this is just a friend who had tried to reach you.
Yeah.
Who couldn't get through.
And he came.
And decided, let me just follow up.
And see where Karen is. So.
And that's the moment where you had written.
Oh, the letter.
So essentially like your last words.
Yeah, that was my last words. And at this point, probably my family watching doesn't know about it.
Who were you speaking to in that letter? Who were you hoping would read it?
My family. Mostly that's my stronghold. I'm not a social butterfly, so I don't really have a lot of friends. Yes, so.
But what were you telling them in that letter?
In that letter, I was like, I wish I could explain it better for you to understand, but I can't. And I'm sorry I'm doing this. I love you so much, and you know I love you. I need you to. And I was like, I told my brother, Nath, take care of mommy and dad. You know I love you, but I need to go. Yeah. And my brother never got to see this letter we are talking about. He doesn't even know about it. And that would have been like the last day I would have seen everybody. And I wouldn't be this woman I am here today. Yes, like 4 years or 5 years down the line, talking to you in this seat. I wouldn't be the woman I am today, and I am I am thankful. Again, Bamidele Abeku Stevens, Auntie Boydiwa, Auntie Mimi, Shati, Frida Jenfra, Samuel Kelly Brew. Now, these are people who never gave up. These are people who reached in. These are people who knew Karen is, and I don't talk. That's the thing. I won't talk because I feel like when I come to you, I go like I'm not okay, and go like, oh, Karen, you uplift others. You do this to others. So they don't get it.
And so I guess the difficulty is they don't even know what to say. Like, what can I say to a person like you? You always find the right things to say. What can I say to you?
Exactly.
And I guess sometimes it's also like, it means I have to explain myself because I don't think they are on my level. Like, they can't get it.
Right.
I can relate, like, you know, because of the kind of person, your nature.
Right.
That's why I feel I can relate in terms of that.
Right.
But you talked about secondary school.
Yeah.
What was it about secondary school that you didn't think?
Okay, so during as I said, I was a laid back person. I talk to people every time, but you wouldn't find me in too much crowd and everything. So in secondary school, I remember one of my teachers straight like telling me, you won't amount to anything just because I didn't do well in a particular subject. So I had one, I was always intimidated. One, I couldn't speak in a crowd. I didn't have a voice of my own. And I was always scared of what ABC things, how they are going to take it, what are they going to say. So I was in my own space. So I remember in secondary school, at home we have this drag box. There was a drag where we put drugs. So I mixed the drugs up. I brought it to school. I brought it to school. I brought the drugs to school.
Okay.
So after class, I had some people I had gone to JSS with. We met up and we were talking. And they were laughing, but they didn't know what I was doing. I dashed out. I took the drugs, and I was waiting to go. But then it wasn't happening. Nothing was. I was like, so this suicide cry. So they thought something was wrong with me, but they couldn't figure it out because I still blended in quickly, like I was okay. So at that point, so it started way back from there. I'm not enough. I can't fit in. I'm different. Nobody understands me. They can't give me, they can't identify. Sometimes all I need is for you to listen. I don't need anything. Sometimes I just want you to listen, give me a hug and tell me, Karen, we are going to get through this. We'll be fine. But unfortunately, during that period, I didn't get that. So that is when the sexual abuse aspect came in. I capitalized and then went like, okay, now I already feel empty. I already feel, how do you call it? I have that void that I need to feel that nothing is feeling it. And someone that I trust with my all, that I have known since childhood, who is a friend, for you to even think about not doing this to anybody, but someone who encourages you, uplifts you, for you to take advantage of me. And funny enough, what killed me was after the scene, I reached out to him. I wanted to understand why. You get it? You know me, we vibe, so why? And you know the words he told me, he was like, this is what happens when you deny someone for too long. And it's not as if me and you have an emotional entanglement. Let me see, that's the new word now. Entanglement, or we are in a relationship. That is different. But you, if anybody could do that, no, you, come on. It should be someone different. So that killed me. And that's why that was the final moment for me.
The friend who came.
Right.
What did he do?
Okay, so when he got in, I remember I saw, thank you. I saw my phone ringing, but I didn't pick up because I didn't want, in that space, all I see is darkness. I don't see anything. I saw him calling me and I did not pick his calls. Then he came through the gate. So he saw what I was doing. First of all, what I did was I broke a bottle, so I cut myself. So already I was oozing out. blood was oozing out from my hand before Bamidele Abeku Stevens got in. Now, when he got in, he held me and went like, no, you can't do this. So quickly, Bamidele called his sister. He wanted help. And he called a friend he knew, okay, this is a sister to Karim. And when my friend was, said, Karim, pick up the phone. Pick up. And this is a friend who lived like a distance where you can just come, that your friend is going through something. She didn't come. So Abeku Stevens was there. Then there's another friend of mine called Sebastian Tay, who also later came in. And these two, and funny enough, when they were there, they held my hand because my blood, there was blood oozing out from my hand. Abeku took his handkerchief, tied my hand to just stop the blood flow. And by the time they realized, barefooted, I ran out. I went to stand in the road. Like, I was like, okay. So they followed, then they pushed me off. They pushed me off. Abeku pushed me off with Sebastian, pushed me off the road. Then they brought me back. So these two were with me through it. And if it wasn't for them, it would have been another issue.
Only because you're looking back now.
Only because I'm looking back now.
Yeah.
Now, if it wasn't for them, the timely intervention of my friend, today I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be like this. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't get to where I've gotten to today, to be in a position to uplift others and tell you, I see you.
Yeah.
I know what you're going through. And look at me, I believe in you. And suicide shouldn't be the last option. Look at me, look at my story, and I'm telling you, whoever is watching this today, I want you to know this. I believe in you, I see you, you're an amazing soul. Anybody who has told you that you can't make it, you won't amount to something, look at me. Don't do it. Reach out. Reach out. Talk to somebody. I need you to talk. Talk to somebody. Right now, fortunately, there are helplines around to help you when you're going through this particular phase in your life. A normal person would understand you. So I'm reaching out to everybody. I know someone in here, one person is looking at me and is thinking about the hopelessness of the situation, is thinking about, I can't make it, I am done, I can't do this anymore. Look at me, talking to you today. Someone saved me, and I'm here to save as many people as I can. Don't do it. We will go through it together. I am with you, we are with you till the end, and I am here and I'm not stopping till we make the world a better place.
I'll come back and talk to you about the people who come out when they hear your story, because you've been going around quite a bit.
Right.
The people who run to you and say, you've just said to me everything I've been going through, and you're the person that I needed. Thank you for coming. I'll let you share those moments with us. But let me engage our doctors. Dr. Joanna Larry Futu, you've been listening, but I also do know that there are people that you come into contact with who also have various stories to share. And they're not just stories. These are personal things that people have gone through. How different is Karim's story from the many others that you've heard?
Well, they are similar. Most times, and statistics have it that about 90% of suicide cases have mental health problems or psychosocial problems underlying them. And so they are very similar. But just to add to, in fact, I would want to congratulate Karim for the steps she's taking, because several people out there are going through a lot. And coming out is a very difficult thing to do, because if I come out, who will understand me? People feel that nobody would understand even if I tell my story. Just like Karim, she attempted several times seeking help. But people thought that, look, this is somebody we can't support because she has been supporting us. But I want to tell everybody watching that we all have down moments in life. Every individual has a story. And the fact that people have not succeeded in committing suicide means that one person or a group of people reached out to such people. Sometimes you may not know you are saving somebody. So people come out and then maybe in a conversation, what you say encourages somebody. And so we should be more encouraging in relationships. I picked out something very important from what she said concerning her HR. This is somebody who could have done something immediately, but again, she didn't know what to do. And I would encourage that if you don't know what to do, there are helplines which would be given out. If you don't know what to do, reach out to a professional. If you don't have the helplines, just ask around. Or go to a psychiatric hospital, go to the psychiatric unit of general hospitals. There is help available for people who need such help in difficult times.
So, Doc, what I hear you saying is that the HR shouldn't have just granted her those leave days and let her go.
No, it was okay. It was okay, but if she had known that maybe going the extra mile to seek support for her would help, she would have done that. But of course, she didn't know how to do that. And so this is a lesson to all of us. There is support available. Don't gloss over people's issue. If somebody tells you that I don't feel fine, you can just go the extra mile to find out what is it. If you feel that you don't have the capacity to help, just walk the person to maybe a psychiatric unit of a general hospital, a psychiatric hospital, just for the help. Because social support in these times is very, very important.
Dr. Dordoye,
Dr. Dordoye would add on.
Yes, yeah. I just want to bring him in. And I wanted to ask Karen what if they had reported to the police? And I guess that's one of the things that you've been saying. What if? What if?
So essentially what we are saying is that if Karen had been reported, she would have been jailed. She couldn't be doing what she's doing now. She would be an ex-convict. That is very important. And there was a time I wanted to come on air, I think it was Joy FM, with, some of my patients I've treated in the past. And then I asked the producer that if I come and these people come to confess to a crime, can they, provide them immunity from prosecution? The answer was no. So even as Karen is there, currently she has confessed to a crime. So police can pick her up right now. That is how bad the situation is. That because she was ill, now she is a criminal person. She's a bad person. That is how, dire the consequences of criminalizing suicidal behavior is. And there are many people like Karen who come out, and I always say that many people who are helped when they don't die are grateful they were not allowed to die. So if we have this evidence that people who do not die are grateful for not dying, why do we think that people wanting to die by suicide is a criminal behavior? When really, it is a cry for help. It's a deep cry, I don't know what to do. With Karen's situation, what we advocate is to have what we call employee assistance program in organizations where the organizations would employ either a psychologist, we can have one in-house or one out-house, who, when people have psychological problems, addiction problem, alcohol problems, they reach out to these people, and then we seek the necessary help. The HR manager might not have been trained in mental health, but they should know that the mental health of people affect their productivity. In fact, the definition of mental health is being able to overcome your personal stresses and all that and contribute to society. So mental health is largely linked to productivity.
Yeah.
So when we don't have quality mental health, it affects our productivity.
Doc, there's
I'll be very
something.
happy if trade unions stand up and insist on employee assistance programs,
Okay.
which are put in place to help situations like this.
Okay.
It's sad that we are coming from kind of a deep depth. We are coming from criminal nature of suicidal behavior. We are coming from no institutions. We are coming from no psychologists being employed in our organizations and our schools. So a whole lot of, things we got to put in place.
Okay.
It's quite sad, but probably with your advocacy, with your light lenses shown on this topic, important topic, probably, we'll make a headway one step at a time. I believe.
All right. Okay. I want to leave the last say to Karen. Karen, very important. What kind of conversation do you think your brother could have had with you? Or even those friends who feel that you say all the right things, there's nothing that they can say. In that moment, what could somebody do?
Listen. You see, it's important because when you miss just a second, just giving someone a listening ear who is clouded with darkness, that could be the end of the person. So if somebody comes to you and tells you, I'm not okay, and the person tells you, I need to talk to you, or I need someone to talk to, I beg you, you don't know what the person is going through. Just spare 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and listen to the person. And don't, you see, in that phase, when you are going through that phase, when somebody starts talking to you about God, it won't solve it. When I'm going through that space and you come to me and tell me how what I'm doing is a sin and I'm going to hell, it won't stop me from what I'm going to do. Because you are worsening my case. That is not when I need that. Probably when I'm a bit okay, then you can bring in the God factor. But if you start by talking to me about God in those initial stages and how I'm going to hell when I do that, it will not solve how I feel. So I'm reaching out to everybody, anybody who comes to you and tells you, I'm not okay. And mind you, the most happiest people, the people who you see joking around and you find that they are nothing happening to, trust me, they are the people who can go faster than you think. Because everybody sees them in that light, they don't think something is wrong to them. So when they come to you and tell you, I am not okay, I beg you, just 2 minutes. And you listen, don't judge. In cases like that, don't judge. Just listen and let the person know, I am with you. We will get through. Don't make it sound like you will go through this. You will come out of it. You will be okay. We will get through this. We will be okay. I am with you. In those points in time, just those few minutes could make a difference. Every few minutes in someone who wants to commit suicide, like every second counts. And if you don't say the right thing, in my brother's case, he didn't know.
Does he know now?
He knows bits and pieces of it.
Okay.
I think this will come to him, it will hit him kind of because he doesn't really know the details.
And your parents?
Yeah, my father knows about it. My mom knows about it now. And
how did they react to it? Did they blame themselves?
Obviously my mom cried.
Yeah.
Because me and my mom, we are like, no one's like we vibed. So
I'm sure she was asking herself, what did I do so that she couldn't tell me all these?
At that point, probably she would ask herself alone, but at that point, it was just a hug. And when it comes to my dad, he was trying to explain to me, make me see, reason with me. That was after all this. They didn't even know the magnitude of what I was about to do. But at this point, they know, and they've been amazing people in my life. There's been a source of, help for me, and I'm grateful for having such a family who didn't make me feel like I was an outcast, didn't make me feel like I was the mensa in the house, that kind of a thing. And the love for me from them, they've been supportive.
Let's just the last thing, because I asked the reaction when you speak to people who can identify.
Now, one thing, what gave me a wake-up call was my dad and we traveled together. That was somewhere last year for a funeral for my great granny. So when we were there, I spoke to a friend, Sarah. God bless her soul. Wherever you are, rest easy. I got a call. So my dad was in the hall from where we were. So I was in the room. Sarah called me 2 days prior. Sarah said, and we were even talking about Putin, the Russian president, and we were laughing about it because we were cracking jokes about it. So 2 days prior. I've been, when I woke up, something didn't sit right. I'm like, let me call Sarah. What's happening? I called. Nobody was picking up. I was still not okay, so I was still calling, and someone picked up. And I'm like, oh, can I kindly talk to Sarah? And he said, your friend is no more. The exact statement was, Sarah is no more. This is Karen, right? Your friend is no more. I think the person saw my name as, your friend is no more. I'm like, I asked what you're saying. So my dad was there. He came to the room. I shouted and I was crying. So that's when my dad sat with me for a bit and told me, sort of consoling me. So that Sarah losing her life, I could have made it. I didn't see it. Sarah, as I was saying, in
Sarah
that state,
took her own life because
Sarah
she was also going through.
And in that state, when I spoke to Sarah 2 days prior, Sarah was happy. She didn't make any move, and that's the serious bit of it. The people who are always laughing.
But Sarah didn't know your story.
She knew. She knew. So if anything, I know Sarah talks to me. So that was a wake-up call for me from that point. So what I do every morning is I have positive affirmations I make for me, myself, and I put things on my status just to uplift somebody. So anytime I put something on my status to uplift somebody, then someone reached out back door to tell me.
Karen, there has to be a second conversation.
Right.
From where you left off.
Right.
Because of time, we have to end this one.
Right.
Because I would also love to open the phone lines and get people to reach out. Because you never know who is watching, who needs something right now.
Right.
So we will have a second leg of this conversation.
Sure.
But I thank you for sharing. I thank you for coming, really.
Thank you for
really
having
grateful.
me. Thank you.
And I thank our doctors also for joining us. There will be a second leg of this conversation. Doctors, thank you so much. Because of time, we have to end the conversation here. We'll bring you show business news. Kadi's up next.